Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This session is provided to you in partnership with LCBO and our fabulous sponsors. My name is Evelyn Chick, and I'm a certified beverage expert, founder of Evelyn Chick Projects, a creative hub for drink enthusiasts just like yourself, and a virtual experience curator. So today I'm so excited to let you know a few drink trends of 2021 perfect for spring in the reports by LCBO. And I'm more than thrilled to introduce you to my co-host and friend, Ren Navarro. Hi, Ren. How are you?
Hey, Evelyn. I am super excited for this. It just means that spring is really here and that summer's around the corner. So I cannot wait to talk about cocktails and beer tonight.
Absolutely. And Ren is also a certified beverage expert and is so great to tell you every single thing about beer, which I'm not so great at. So I'm very excited about this. We're going to walk through a few trends today, like I mentioned, is in the 2021 Drink Trend Report by LCBO. So we're going to talk about frothy and fluffy cocktails, some savvy swaps from your traditional classic cocktails, some twists on citruses, flower power, and lastly, of course, some sour beers. So we're going to walk through all these delicious cocktails, and you're going to follow along if you have the ingredients, right, Ren?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready for this.
Amazing. The first cocktail we're going to make is actually so simple. It's called the Perfect Garibaldi, and it is a twist on a cocktail that's made famous by Dante in New York. And it's super simple, only requires a couple ingredients, but it's honestly a blast of orange flavors. So we're going to take a tall Collins glass that kind of looks like this, and we're going to grab our first ingredient, which is Campari. So Campari is an herbal digestive that has really great bitter orange flavors, and it's got this beautiful red hue to it, which will contribute to the overall kind of sunset looking, spring vibes type of deal in the cocktail. So we're going to add 1.5 ounces of Campari in your Collins glass. And secondly, we're going to layer on a couple more kind of orangey notes with Grand Marnier, and it's a orange liqueur made with 46% orange curacao and the rest cognac. And I gotta say, I've been to cognac. They take their cognac very seriously, but they also take their oranges very seriously. And we're gonna add just a teeny little bit. It's a little 1/4 ounce of Grand Marnier in your cocktail. And the third ingredient I find so interesting. So it's actually fluffy orange juice. So typically with the Garibaldi done in Dante, they actually take a whole orange and they put it through a slow juicer, and all this sort of beautiful orange oils from the rinds gets really fluffy once it's passed through. And what it does is it aerates the drink. And you can actually achieve froth and fluffiness in a lot of different ways. I mean, Ren, have you had a whiskey sour?
Yes, I have.
Well, whiskey sour is done with egg whites, or if you are vegan folks out there, there's also something called aquafaba, which is kind of like a mixture of stabilizer and chickpea water that allows for that froth. And if you're someone who really likes tropical flavors like I do, pineapple actually has really cool natural pectins and enzymes in there that allows for the froth as well. But for the sake of today, we're going to add some fluffy orange juice in this cocktail. If you don't have fluffy orange juice at home, we're just going to put it in a blender for the sake of not being way too loud. We're just going to actually put orange juice that's fresh squeezed in a blender and blend it on medium for 30 seconds. I've pre-frothed it a little bit, so I'm just going to blend it really quickly for the dramatic effect. And we're just going to pour it directly into your Collins glass. Oh, I can already see it kind of build in volume, and that really nice frothiness on the top is really going to create a velvety and silky texture. So we want to make this so it's nice and cold for you as well, because obviously for spring, we're getting ready for summer. I feel like it's an in-between season that we're just waiting. We're waiting for the sunshine. We're waiting for everything. I'm going to throw some ice cubes in there, and we're going to give it a quick stir to integrate. And we're going to top it up with a little bit more fluffy orange juice. And I'm saying fluffy because when you drink it, you'll really get the nice texture from the aeration, which is integrating air in this cocktail. If you're feeling fancy like me, we're going to garnish it with a couple slices of orange wheels. And as you see, I've measured every single ingredient because we're at home and we want to make sure we're enjoying these spirits and liqueurs responsibly. So cheers. This is your first cocktail. It's the Perfect Garibaldi. What do you think, Ren? The mouth feels really cool.
It's so nice. It's so funny because I think of fluffy, but I think of it in terms of just like beer. So I think of it in terms of the head on the drink, but knowing that it integrates throughout it and just gives it this amazing smooth feeling. It's awesome. And the flavor's great.
Amazing. It's so nice and light. And I love that, there's two different types of orange ish liqueurs that are integrated in it and different alcohol by volumes too. So this is like a nice, like low ABV drink that you can have, maybe before 5 p.m. I would say before 5 p.m. is okay. So the second trend is savvy swaps. And, like you've had a couple mojitos in your day. So have I. And typically they're made with rum. Whereas, you can kind of introduce new flavors to a mojito and by simply swapping out the base spirit of it. So today we're actually going to use Espolòn Blanco tequila made with 100% Blue Weber agave. And I think it's important when you go shopping at your local LCBO the next time to pick something that is of quality and premium. And Blanco just means it's not aged, but tequila is such an interesting category. And I'm sure like we've had our fair share of weird tequilas growing up, right? But I think something that is a quality Blanco really gives a cocktail some really great herbal notes to it, some citrus notes to it, maybe some pepper. So it's going to be fantastic in a mojito. So how do you build a classic mojito? You're going to take one of these Collins glasses again. And first, obviously, you're going to grab some mint, which I actually left in my fridge. So I'm going to go grab that. Ren, is there anything that you can maybe substitute for, say a sugar or a mint that you have at your house?
Yeah, well, in this case, we don't have a lot of sugar here. So I'm actually going to cheat and do some of that Grand Marnier in it. Because I think that the freshness out of that is going to be like chef's kiss on top of that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's great because the orange notes will really kind of bring out the minty and lime elements of the mojito. So first, you want to get yourself some simple syrup. And simple syrup is actually as simple as it sounds. It's just equal parts water and sugar. And you can easily make it at home in about 30 seconds. Just take some hot water and stir it up with equal parts of sugar. And we're going to do a 3/4 ounce of simple syrup in your Collins glass, followed by 6 or 7 leaves of mint. And the reason why I left it in the fridge, because mint actually does really well with cold. So when you're trying to preserve like a mint bunch, what I usually do is wrap it in a little bit of a wet paper towel and put it in the fridge. And look, it is so beautiful and super fresh. So no kind of soft, limpy mint here. We're going to take 4 leaves. We're going to leave the sprig like this for later because we're going to garnish it. So it's nice and beautiful for your springtime photos. We're just going to capture every moment, right? So you're going to take a handful of mint leaves, and a lot of people are used to muddling this, but to be honest, you don't really have to do that because all the essence of the mint is actually in the sweet oils that it brings out. So grab your mint. All you have to do is take it and clap a few times. And when you smell it, the oils are kind of like released. So that's going to transcend into the whole drink. And Amy asked, what is a substitute for mint? So you can actually do basil or any type of herbs. If you were to do a mojito with basil, that actually brings out some earthiness to it, which is perfect for tequila. So I think you can get really creative, or if you're kind of building on this drink, you can add some fruit to it. I just did a watermelon drink on my Instagram this morning with mint, and it's as simple as kind of adding a little bit of watermelon juice or putting a little bit of that in when you're muddling it, if you choose to muddle it. Next, we're going to add some lime juice, and fresh squeeze is always the best for mojitos. And again, we're going to measure out 3/4 ounces. And for those of you who don't have a measuring jigger, which is essentially a bartending measuring spoon, you can actually use a tablespoon. So just remember, 1 tablespoon is 1/2 ounce. That's your kind of at-home trick there, Ren. Yeah, remember that.
Although I got fancy tonight and I brought my jigger. So
oh, so nice. Yeah, because you're also making a cocktail, which I'm very excited
yes.
about. Great. So we're going to measure out 3/4 ounces of fresh squeezed lime juice. Let's put it right in there. And then we're going to add 2 ounces of 100% Blue Weber Agave Blanco tequila. So like I said, it's going to bring out all these beautiful citrus notes and, bring in a little creativity to your mojito that you're used to making. I don't know who's used to making mojitos at home, but I feel like I should be, right? Like I should be used to making tequilas at home. All right, so you're gonna add some ice. Perfect. And you're just gonna give that all a quick little stir. And if you have, any sort of ice at home, something that is like a cracked ice would work really well because you want this drink to be like nice and fresh and really easy to drink. So you're just gonna dilute this and bring it down to temperature. Put a couple more cubes in there. And we're gonna top it up with soda. Like something that's nice and refreshing and that brings all these flavors together, also making those really great citrus notes and mint notes pop, like I mentioned earlier. So we're going to give it another stir to integrate it, which is important now because I know the next drink you're making takes some stirring as well, because you want to make sure that the bubbles are integrated in the drink and you're not just having, soda in the front palate and then everything else after. So for a really good garnish, same thing. You just grab like a mint spray, give it a couple claps, and then you're going to garnish your tequila mojito. What a savvy swap. I love it. Ren, what do you think of the mint and the tequila together?
It's so fresh. And I'm automatically like on a patio somewhere. I'm sitting in the sun. I'm just like enjoying it. No cares in the world. This tequila, I was always nervous about tequila, but it turns out that if you get a quality product, it actually tastes good. So this is amazing. I'm loving it.
Good. Absolutely. And you know what? Like, I think a lot of people are, afraid of tequila because we've had one too many shots of it as, not drinking responsibly, which is what you're not supposed to do today and all the time. So I think picking a tequila is kind of really important because now you understand like the difference between quality and the difference between taste. If you don't have anything that is carbonated and you want to replace it with soda, with something else, that's absolutely fine. There's actually a really, really great cocktail called, I'm not sure if you know, but it's called the caipirinha. That's done with cachaça. That's pretty much just lime. So if you were to do something that is, another savvy swap, I feel like that would go really, really well with tequila. So if you don't have soda, simply eliminate it and get a little bit more lime juice in there and just make everything pop. Because if you add soda to the drink, it dilutes it a bit more, right? So you got to balance out your citrus and your sugars. So I would say absolutely just put a little bit more of the lime juice and you're still going to have a really complete drink. And then, like I said, get really creative. If you can't have anything carbonated, that's all good. Add some fruit in it, add some different juices in there. This is all about like stirring up some creativity at home, which I absolutely love. So for the tequila, if you're looking for even adding more flavor to it, you can pick something like a reposado. And reposado just means rested, which means it has some sort of oak influence to it. And now all of a sudden you're introducing some like vanilla flavors, allspice flavors. We're just getting crazy over here. So I think all these actually work really well with mint and citrus and all of that. So don't worry if you can't have carbonated drinks. You can absolutely still make a mojito variation with a savvy swap to a tequila. All right. Talking about awesome, classic, simple drinks. Twists on citrus is our next trend that I'm so on board with because I love everything citrus and I feel like it just screams spring. So Ren, what do you have in deck for us for a citrus twisted classic?
So I'm excited about this because I'm a huge gin drinker. So it's the Gordon Sicilian Lemon. And this is a gin and soda, which of course, people are always like, gin and soda, but it's all about those flavors behind it. And a Sicilian lemon has, you think of a lemon and it's, you got to start thinking Meyer lemon and, Sicilian lemon is in that grouping. And I want it because it's simple, but it's still elevated. So for this one, again, you're doing a tall glass. This time around, I've cheated slightly, and I'm using a Belgian style glass because I'm a beer drinker first and foremost.
Yes.
But again, the reason that this is the glass that I've picked is so you can smell it, because that great citrus smell, a larger mouth on the glass lets you get your nose in there, and this is one of those ones where you want to get your nose in there and sniff it. So. This is 1.5 ounces of gin, and then you're topping it with some soda. And I'm just, again, nice and simple. But honestly, the smell on this, to me, this is a great summer sipper. Nice citrus slice on there with a twist, or you can be fancy like Evelyn with some of the other garnishes. But again, this is getting in there and you smell it, and that lemon just has a slight sweetness to it that your regular lemon won't have. And so, yeah, this is the perfect summer sipper.
I love that because it's 2 ingredients, but it's so unique. And I really want to talk a little bit about the innovation that the gin, makers have come up with, because I've seen all these really cool flavors, which we'll also visit later with a flavored vodka, come up with, that has just accentuated all those really nice, like juniper kind of evergreen flavors. And it actually makes sense that you like gin as well, because I always find that when I'm having a beer and I'm having a gin, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the flavors that you pick out. So like Angelica, Oris, those kind of like earthy notes, a little bit of nuttiness, the hoppiness, evergreen that comes from juniper. Like, it's so great because now it's accentuated with some citrus, which actually just makes everything pop. And, like for IPA drinkers out there with the citra hops, that is like pretty much in every single IPA you say, it's awesome because like it brings out all these really cool underlying tones. And as you said, with garnish that is fancy or not, I feel like the glass is also important. It's actually the perfect time for it because tomorrow is National Gin and Tonic Day. So if you're regularly a gin and tonic drinker, this Sicilian lemon Gordon's gin and soda is kind of like a new introduction to new flavors. If you're just, making something other than a gin and tonic.
Yeah, it's so nice.
That's great. And I love the introduction of a Belgian glass. Like, I need to try that next time.
Oh,
because
I think we forget that, part of the experience of all of these, these great drinks is the smell. And so you really got to be able to get your nose in there.
Absolutely. And talking about smells, if you're just cutting a couple slices of Meyer lemon, which you also mentioned earlier, it's got this really cool florality to it. So if you're stirring the gin and soda and you have Meyer lemon, or if you have access to Meyer lemon, just a couple of slices within the drink actually brings out all these flavors even more. Yes, it absolutely. Beth has a question. Does the same work for flavored vodka? Because if you make a flavored vodka and soda and you introduce some different herbal qualities to it or a couple different citrus qualities to it, it really brings out those underlying tones that you normally wouldn't by adding, say, a juice, because you're allowing for the base spirit to shine, right? So for the Gordon Sicilian lemon, because there's these like beautiful like floral lemon notes to it, the simplicity of adding a soda and then accentuating those flavors with more citrus or more herbs. If you're like, oh, okay, what does lemon go with? Maybe some vanilla, like maybe a cool vanilla bean in there, or like caramelized citrus, or, I'm fancy, so I like things like that. Or even, like basil, like I was talking about earlier, really just creates another level of flavor on a 2-ingredient drink. I love that. That's awesome. So for Beth, who is interested in flavored vodkas, I think you will quite like this next drink that I'm making. It is called the Pear and Elderflower Shandy. And flower power is all the rage for spring. And there's so much that you can pick out from a little bit of florality. And Ren and I talked about this earlier. We didn't have such good shandies when we were growing up.
No, we did not.
Oh man. Shandies are typically like a kind of okay lager with ginger ale. However, shandies can be just as fancy as I am, or just as easy as it is to build this drink. And shandies are typically just nice because I feel like it's refreshing. It's low ABV. Again, thinking about like drinking in moderation, enjoying responsibly. This is a great cocktail to have that's only 1 ounce. So the absolute juice is what I've picked for this pear and elderflower shandy. And it's nice because it's only flavored with natural ingredients. So the next time you go to an LCBO and you're looking at flavored vodkas, the absolute juice line actually has a lot of really cool flavors that integrates some florality, which is here elderflower, with pear, which is, like something that I really didn't think of before, because I always think pear is sort of a fall fruit, but with the addition of elderflower, it actually brings it into such like a beautiful light area. So we're going to build the shandy together. It's very easy. And I love the aromas of like kind of going to the bottle and smelling it. I can smell the elderflower right away. It's such a beautiful ingredient. And for those of you who like elderflower liqueurs, but you're like, oh, maybe it's too sweet sometimes, this is perfect because the sugar in Absolute Juice is actually at a very, very low percentage. And it's also 35%, and we're only adding 1 ounce. So it's a lower ABV shandy. So we're going to add 1 ounce of that to I'm a wine nerd, so I have wine glass. I have a wine glass here. Again, with the aromas, I think this actually works really well in a wine glass because you want to get your nose in there. Yeah. And I have a weird suspicion that you're probably also pouring it in a Belgian, which I also think would work. Something that's like bigger, bold or something. Oh, yeah, I was right. I was right. So the next thing you're going to add is a lemonade. So if you are lazy like me and purchase lemonade that is store-bought, that is totally fine. I would definitely then pick a drier cider because that's the next ingredient you're going to add in. So if you're going to make this cocktail at home and you want to do something that's fresh, or if you have like a really good recipe for a lemonade, please go ahead and do that. When I am less lazy, I usually make lemonade with the simple syrup that I talked about earlier. So it's just equal parts simple syrup and equal parts lemon juice. So that is a really good base for a lemonade. If you have like children, or like you're just like, okay, like I'm going to whip up something really nice and refreshing for a porch, like socially distanced porch hang or something, that's a really good base for a lemonade. Equal parts simple syrup, equal parts lemon juice, and then just dilute it with water or soda. If you're using vodka and Saint Germain, what would the ratio be? I would essentially use an ounce of vodka and a half ounce of Saint Germain, which is also elderflower, because like I said, flower power, that's a spring trend. It's in. So we're going to add some ice and we're going to top it up with apple cider. And would you kind of recommend a drier apple cider for this, Ren?
Yeah, I definitely would, because you don't want, I mean, this is also your personal preference, but when you're going with a much sweeter apple cider, you're really getting apple. So it's, like you've bitten into a very ripe, perfect apple. What you want is almost dry like wine. So it has a little bit more of a bite to it, lower sugar. Right now, the big trend is 0 sugar ciders, so you will definitely see a difference. It will also be marked that it's a dry cider, so you don't have to try and guess. The cider maker will tell you on the can.
Right, perfect. And I've actually seen like cider brut out there. Brut actually also just means dry. So that's really interesting that you say that. I did notice that a few more ciders in the market right now are listing dry, because you're right. Again, growing up, not making that well decisions. We just didn't know better. But I do remember those sugary ciders you were talking about. And because this drink is so delicate, it's a sophisticated shandy, not the shandies we're used to drinking. So you want to pick something that will actually accentuate the pear and elderflower flavors because it's so delicate. So you do want to pick a drier cider for this. And I think a pear cider would also work too, right? Like, is there any kind of
really
dry pear cider?
Yeah, I think when you're going with a perry, though, do be careful, because some of them do have mixes. So it'll be like a pear elderflower, and you're almost doubling up on this. So you'll take away some of the subtlety of the absolute juice. But you know what? If you're in the LCBO, just ask one of the beer captains or the cider expert that's there, and they can help you out with a great selection. But there are some amazing selections of cider that you can grab.
Yeah, there are a few local ciders that I just like cannot stop drinking. It's just like so refreshing for spring and perfect in the shandy. And I feel like beer captain is definitely something that I want to be. It just sounds really cool. So go talk to your local beer captains.
I think they call them beer ambassadors now. I think I'm showing my age. They used to be beer captains.
Either way, they sound awesome, and I can't wait to learn more from them. So we're going to add 2 ounces, so the same proportions as your lemonade that you added in, 2 ounces of dry cider. So again, with the integration of the bubbles, it just makes the whole drink pop. So we're just going to give it a quick stir. And then for the sake of aromas, we're actually going to garnish it with a little lemon twist. And I don't know, like I'm allowed to share a, bartender little tip here. Citrus zests only work if you squeeze them because you're just putting citrus on top. So you want to make sure that all those like beautiful sweet oils from the citrus gets into the drink. So if you're looking at, integrating a little bit more aroma into your drink, into this really kind of beautiful, like larger glass, you want to take your citrus peels, and this is kind of where the rough part is. That's the stuff. That's where all the oils are. So you're just going to point it towards your glass. And this is how you also make a delicious and aromatic old fashioned, is by integrating those orange oils. So I'm going to take the citrus and you're going to point it towards the glass and just do it, give it a light squeeze. And if you pick a citrus that's pretty rough on the outside, you actually get a lot more oils because there's more surface area for you to integrate the oils in. And you can even see like the oils just kind of going crazy on the one side, which is great because that means you're smelling all those beautiful flavors and then accentuating the pear and elderflower and the absolute juice. So you're going to put it in right there. And then we're going to garnish it with some pear slices because this is a fancy shandy. And fancy shandies need a few garnishes. And again, it kind of helps you bring out all the different pear flavors that are in the drink as well, that are flavored naturally in absolute juice. So, it smells delicious. Cheers, Ren.
Cheers.
Oh, I wish we could do this in person, but for now, virtual is still okay. Yeah. What do you think?
It's really great because the pear, and again, when I think of pear, I always think of that like overripe, like really juicy, you bite into it. It's got that same flavor. The apple cider that I have selected is an Ontario-based cider that you can find in the LCBO. So I've actually gone with Don't Poke the Bear. And it doesn't compete. So you actually get some good complexities out of it. And that fresh pear and a little bit of that elderberry. It's, I wish that the shandies that we drank back in the day were
this good. Or maybe it's better that it wasn't so good because we might have had a little too many back then. Yeah. So it's good. This low ABV drink is absolutely delicious. Again, I can't stress enough. Definitely measure out all your ingredients and drink responsibly, because if you don't measure it out, if you're just kind of free pouring, it loses its balance and it completely masks the elderflower and the beautiful floral notes that you're trying to accomplish with this shandy. But the next time you're hosting responsibly with your guests from the same household, you need to wow them with this shandy because I think it is so beautiful. So speaking of, kind of citrus notes, a little bit more florality, something that's a little bit more interesting, I know you have a few sour beers that you want to share with us because sour beers are, again, like very much in trend right now. And I love exploring different flavors because you have a couple that are quite different.
I do. And so it's quite funny. Those who know me quite well know I'm always like, ooh, sours. And this year, the sours have changed completely. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Collective Arts, and it is their berry, banana, acai, and granola smoothie sour. And the great thing about this is when you think of sours, people like, they kind of go, oh, well, it's going to have like balsamic notes, or there's, like a little bit of a tartness to it that is too much. I have to show you the color of this. So hopefully you can see that.
Oh my gosh.
So this is the colors of the acai berry, obviously make the change to this, but it's a thicker drink. So, and when I say thicker, I'm really talking like a smoothie. So true smoothie, also larger glass, bigger top. So when you smell it, it's almost that fresh baked banana where you're trying to be healthy and you put some oatmeal on top, and that's the granola out of this. So really fresh, very, fresh baked banana right out of the oven. Like you've just done it. With this, the taste of it. So again, mouth feels a little thicker, and there is a bit of tartness out of the acai berry. And this is one of those sours that I would say is for people who are trying to kind of get into it. This is an amazing spring evening sipper. Again, the smoothie texture of it is like, when you were out in the before times and you could go and get a smoothie at the corner. It's that same kind of thing. So a little bit of tartness from the berry, and then it leads into that banana, and you get a little bit of the oats and the granola. and a really smooth finish, which is a huge difference. So, you'll either have a really clean finish or something kind of lingers a bit. This lingers a bit, and it's banana, and it's so lovely. The color of it, the mouthfeel it's an experience. I really love it.
That's awesome, because I normally think of sours as something that's like quite hoppy, very tart in the end. So with flavors like this, it kind of covers like a lot of different bases. You got your, like fresh fruit element, you got your velvety texture, you got still a little bit of that hoppiness, and then the color is just incredible. So would you say that for someone who's just testing out whether or not they like sours, this would be a good one to go for?
Yeah, I think that this, you kind of go with what you're already drinking. So if you're drinking a lot of wine and you're drinking dry wines or wines that have a little bit of tartness, it'll be easier conceivably to get into sours. If you want kind of that middle of the road, there is still a little bit of sweetness in this. Part of that comes from that banana and a little bit of the granola, because granola already has like a natural sweetness to it. I think that this is a wonderful entry level. It's for people who are just not sure about sours or aren't sure about beer. Quite often what people are worried about with beer is that bitterness, the perceived bitterness. And this just doesn't have it. And I think that, again, it's really smooth. It's not a huge ABV on it. It's about 5.6, I believe. And it's smooth. So it's a really great intro into the world of sours.
That's great. And I love that, we talk about food alongside with drinks so much, as a cocktail maker, as a beer aficionado. I feel like the romanticizing of like food often doesn't get translated to drink. So like the way that we speak about drinks and the way that we like tell a story with even something as simple as a milkshake sour is so important. I love the work that the Collective Arts crew does. Like it's so innovative and it's so interesting. So kudos to them for keeping the creativity alive and, allowing for all the audiences at home to try something that's different. So the second sour that you have, I know I'm so intrigued about. Please tell me more about it.
So this one is from our friends at Cowbell, and this is the sea salt grapefruit sour, and it's a fruited goza. And so this is kind of the opposite end to the Collective Arts. It looks more of a traditional beer. So I've poured it really hard so you can see the head on this. So you get a nice white fluffy head, which is when we were talking earlier about the fluffiness of a cocktail. This is what I think of in terms of fluffiness. So nice and light color. You're looking at kind of a golden straw. And this, you can smell a little bit of that sea salt. And so for me, it's almost like the electrolytes. So when you're drinking a Gatorade or one of those and you get like that salty taste, but the sea salt has kind of an extra level to it. And this is, I'm in Halifax suddenly and I'm at the water and I can smell the sea salt around me and you're just relaxing. Like this is the summer sipper. And so it's not too sour. I do feel that people, when they think sour, they think very sour. So for those of you who don't really know sours, it's kind of think of it in terms of eating a lemon. What kind of lemon are you eating? Are you eating a regular lemon? Are you eating a Meyer lemon? Or are you eating a Sicilian lemon? They've all got different sour profiles to them. This one's a little off of your regular lemon. So not as puckering. And honestly, every sip just gives you a little bit more with it. You do get the grapefruit, obviously, and the grapefruit is kind of between the yellow grapefruit and a pink grapefruit. So not too sweet, but not too tart. So it's that sweet spot in between. And honestly, completely refreshing. This one is 4.5%. So again, we've been talking about low ABV, which means that really you can sit with it for a while. I would say that this is a great session. So in terms of session, a sessionable drink, you don't have to rush it. So if I let this sit and Evelyn and I were chatting as usual, if I picked it up 10 minutes later, it would still taste the same as when I first opened it and drank it. So it maintains that really great flavor profile.
That's really awesome, because I also think that, the salt probably does the same thing like salt does in food, where it keeps you kind of revisiting and like kind of finding out new notes every time you revisit it, which is really nice. And I want to take this opportunity to get, everyone who's watching to type in their questions, because, Ren and I are so excited to share these spring trends with you. And I want to talk a little bit about like the way in which we talk about citrus. Like, I love how you compared, the different types of lemon that you bite into with the Meyer versus the Sicilian versus a regular lemon. And that's so interesting because we talk about that in wine a lot, like
we do.
ripe fruits, so all these different, drink profiles kind of bridge together with language. Like, it's so interesting that we can use these different descriptors for all these different drinks, like florality transcends, like, savory notes, herbal, all of that. So if I'm more a cocktail drinker than anything. Like, I'm so interested about all these different beers because I can really kind of look into the flavor profile and be able to associate it with something that I've already had. So now I'm not afraid to try sour beers. Thank you, Ren.
Yeah, I think that the way to make it more accessible, like you were saying, is to relate it to your experiences. I know that definitely wine and cocktails are getting away from using really specific industry speak, and beer is starting to get there. And I'm really pushing people to go with, if you've been to Halifax and you smell that, that sea salt air, you know what I'm talking about. And so it's easier to kind of picture that in a beer, or, your morning smoothie, and relating that to the collective arts beer. But I think that we need to make it experiential.
Oh, 100%, especially when we're all kind of like at home and we look at the same things and we're feeling like somewhat of a similar sensation, and we're always on Zoom. So like all these different experiences in which you can go and take yourself really somewhere else with liquid that's put in front of you is so great and so amazing. And again, like, kudos to everyone who's innovating out there and making such cool products.
Yeah. I think this is the time, right? We're all paying attention way more than we used to because we have time. But I think, for those of you who are watching, if you're grabbing these things, don't, you can read the tasting notes for all of this, and you can listen to what Evelyn and I have told you, but make it your own experience and really think about what you get out of it, and, learn to smell your drinks. And what's, is it a childhood memory that it invokes? When I smell the pear, I think again of overripe pears and being able to pick them, and, breakfast smoothies and fresh sea salt air. So try it. It'll definitely change how you approach a lot of these things.
Oh, absolutely. And, for the 2021 drinks trend, pamphlet and every product that we have poured today, you can actually look at it on the YouTube description if you've missed it. So don't worry about that at all. So we have someone that asks, what contributes to the sour flavors in these beers? Is it like sourdough with the sour starter? That's such an interesting question, because I know for a fact that I don't know. Have you made sourdough this
I actually didn't. I have not made sourdough.
I've tried many a times and failed. So that's such an interesting question. I will let you take that, Ren.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is similar, but you are looking at bacteria. So it is bacteria that gives the sour starter its life. So quite often it's lactobacillus or Brett that's added, and that is added during the brewing. And it pretty much reacts the same way. So yeah, it's almost like making a giant sourdough starter. And it's just a bunch of reactions to it. But yeah, it's all about bacteria.
Yeah, I mean, same with fermentation before distillation in spirits. If anyone has had a chance to visit a brewery when they are making sour beers, especially the really interesting ones, when you walk in, the smells are crazy. It's nothing like you'll ever smell anywhere else. And yes, it's such a cool thing. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah. And actually, sorry, just with these two, so you can have a long-term souring, or you can have a quick in kettle, and these are both faster. So it is an actual container that is added of that bacteria.
Again, learning from you every single day. I love it. It's so great. And like, I want to go back and kind of let everyone know that, these recipes and these beers are available on lcbo.com. And also, just honestly pick up something that's interesting and try something new. The price points and all of this is actually like very reasonable, I would say, because you're actually getting a lot out of it. We mentioned low ABV. We mentioned the simplicity of ingredients. Most of this you probably already have at home. And it's great because, you got to take a couple things, swap out some, ingredients where they're normally in a classic cocktail, and you still yield some really cool drinks. So yeah, please do go out and support, our local stores, support local breweries that Ren has so gracefully taught us so much about. And, any last words, Ren, about our spring trends?
Obviously these are our spring trends, but go take a look around and see what's happening with it. Jumping off of these, see what else you can grab in the LCBO and put together into something new.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And just being creative is honestly keeping my mind sane. Like, being able to wander is keeping me sane. It's such a weird concept, but you need some creative juice in your the situation we're in right now. So I really appreciate Ren, you joining me today, being such an awesome co-host. And I want to thank everybody who's watching right now for joining us in this awesome session. So let's repeat what we're talking about. We love frothy and fluffy drinks, savvy swaps, twists on citrus, some flower power for spring, and sour beer. So the next time you go into an LCBO, you can purchase these products in store, or you can order online, or choose the deliver to store option and have it all packaged and ready to go for you when you hit the store. Or some LCBOs also do curbside pickup. Just make sure you're staying safe, making sure you're socially distanced, and enjoying all these beautiful beverages responsibly.